สนับสนุนโดยอีเดมิสึ
ท่านผู้ชมครับอย่างที่สงสัยกันครับ wedge เนี่ยเป็นอะไรที่ใช้ในการเล่นหลากหลายครับไม่ว่าจะเป็น full shot ระเบิดทรายหรือว่าชิปอะไรก็แล้วแต่เนี่ยเพราะฉะนั้นคำถามหนึ่งที่เข้ามาเยอะเลยก็คือผมจะเลือก wedge ยังไงดีเพราะฉะนั้นวันนี้ก็เลยมาหาคำตอบกันที่ Bangkok Golf Center ครับมาคุยกับ Richard Spence ครับซึ่งเป็นผู้เชี่ยวชาญอีกหนึ่งคนครับ Hey Richard how are you
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good we're talking about the wedges today
Okay.
I have a question coming to my mind because wedges is used for a lot of different reasons. Full swing, pitch shot, chip shot, sand, whatever. So the question is coming to me. How do I shoot wedges?
Okay. We're going to choose wedges for really when we do fitting here. We choose wedges to pick certain distances. So,
Okay.
for example, you're going to choose an 8 because of a 9 iron because you want a certain distance. We need to carry on that distance changing. So we don't want two wedges to go the same distance, and we don't want any of the wedges in your bag to go the same distance as any of your other clubs.
Yeah.
So when we do a wedge fitting here, we're trying to find clubs that you can hit comfortably different distances without trying so hard.
How about short game?
Short game wise, we're going to look at a little bit more bounce and what loft you need. So for example, myself, I've got 4 wedges in the bag.
Wow, that's a lot.
Some people only might need 2 wedges.
Yeah.
But we're really here to see what numbers you need. Some people don't need a lob wedge. They might be able to hit it nicely up in the air and out the sand without using that club. Or they might feel like a gap wedge is something that they don't need because they don't need that distance a lot. Or they're quite good at hitting half shots, so they don't need to feel they need a club that goes a gap wedge distance, so they can use that space higher up in the set, like an extra wood.
Okay. So normally the pitching wedge is about 48 degree.
Yeah, depending on the brand. So they are getting slightly stronger nowadays, so you can get it from 45 up to 48.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you want 2 or 3 wedges, it will be like a gap wedge, will be like a 50 to 52.
Yeah, 50 to 52. Yeah.
And then sandwich will be
54 to 56.
Okay. And loft wedge will be
Yeah, 58 to
58.
62, 64.
okay. So let's test a little bit. If I want, let's say for myself, I want first of all, how you fit it? You have to hit the wedge and see the distance, or what?
Well, yeah, we're going to hit some wedges, and I'll get to know a little bit more about your game. You're going to tell me some distances that you maybe struggle with, and we're going to try and fit a wedge to that distance.
Okay. What information you want to know from me if I want to pick the wedge?
Like to know to start with what you already have. It's really important.
I usually, right now I have 52
Okay.
and 58.
Perfect. Right. Do you feel like there's anything missing distance-wise? Can you control every distance in there?
I hit 58 full swing like 90 yard,
Okay.
and 52 like 110.
Okay.
So below like 60,
Okay.
I have a little bit of problem with that.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we can look at maybe a high lofted wedge.
Okay.
Maybe a 60 degree, and just see what numbers you get and see if you can control the distance.
okay. So let's see.
Yeah, I'll start you off with a real classic Titleist Vokey.
Okay.
60 degrees. It's got quite a lot of quite a low bounce, but we can talk about that in a second. But yeah, we'll get you hitting some shots and see your data and see what you're doing.
Sure. All right. So you want me to hit the full swing or just?
Give me the distance you're struggling with. Try and hit the distance you're struggling with to start with.
So yeah, I'm struggling with the 60 yard.
Yeah.
So I try to hit that.
But sometimes when you're trying to play them smaller shots with too strong a loft, it'll go too far.
Oh, that's perfect.
There you go. First time. So that's that's straight away.
I cannot do it with 58.
And you're going to find maybe that 58, just because it's that 2 degrees stronger, the ball might fly a little bit lower, a bit further, won't be able to stop as quick.
Okay. Well, so this one may be good for me if I want to change.
Pretty good as well, 58.
Wow, so I may have to change to 60.
There you go.
But if I change to 60, I'm gonna have problem with the 90 yard that I'm
Okay.
good with 58.
So that's something that you can look at. If you don't like hitting half shots, you maybe want that 58 in your bag still, or maybe we can find another wedge that we can taper down to your full existing set, so maybe 50, 56. You might be able to still get that 90-yard distance easily, and then work it back from there. So that's what we want. We just want even jumps throughout your clubs.
Okay.
We don't want anything that's too close together.
So for the audience watching the show right now, how can you recommend them to fit the wedge? Come here or whatever.
Yeah, I would. It's difficult to see your wedges land on a golf course or a range because you're not getting any data to how far they're carrying. So what it's best to do, come inside the golf centre, get your numbers, see how far you actually are hitting your clubs, and work out a plan with our fitters or instructors to see what distances you can achieve or what you'd like to achieve, and then choose wedges and clubs to fit that.
So I'm curious, if I hit the same swing with the different loft, how the distance gonna be?
What you should, from a full swing, we're hopefully looking for about 8 to 12 yards, maybe a 10 in between 10-yard jump.
Okay.
It's not always that, and that's why it's not as it would be on paper. It's not going to be the exact same degree in loft jump. It might be, you might end up with a 58 and a 60 because you will hit in different distances. You might just feel because of the head design you can hit it a little bit harder. Usually a little bit thicker head will give you that little bit more of a jump as well. So your 58 might be very, very thin, but the 60 we give you might be very, very thick. So you're going to get different distances off different head designs. So that's why it's almost like a lottery. If you're not getting fitted for your wedges, you're almost giving away shots on the golf course.
Okay. So when we test the half swing or full swing?
When we're going through the whole full bag fitting, we'll do full swings, and then when we talk about, like you said, about 60-yard ones you're struggling with, we just go for the distances you're finding difficult.
Okay. So Richard, give a little bit of example for the audience about the gap of the bound. I mean the loft that he used. How many degree differently on the wedges that he normally used?
Okay, a good rule of thumb is about 4 degrees.
Okay.
Because that's what you're going to see from a lot of your irons anyway. So for example, from 8 to 9, 4 degrees. From 7 to 8, 4 degrees. So it's very, very simple to work that back up into the higher wedge clubs. So for example, if your wedge is 48 degrees, you might want a 52 degrees next.
Okay.
And then a 56 degrees next. And then possibly a 60 if you need that wedge in your bag.
But if I using like a pitching weight, my pitching weight is like 46, so
Okay.
it's maybe better for 50.
Yeah, exactly.
And 54 and 58,
Yeah.
for example.
And that's where people, because of the more modern clubs, are getting stronger. They just feel, because in the golf magazines it'll say the sand wedge must be 56. Something you might use out the sand might be a little bit less because of what else you've got in your bag. So if your pitch wedge is stronger, the chances are other wedges are going to be that couple of degrees stronger as well.
So the lob is stronger, the distance go further.
It'll go a little bit further, but
Yeah.
if you're going to use a stronger pitch and wedge, so for example yours is 45, 46, if you get the traditional gap wedge, that's going to be too much of a jump.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a big difference in them two clubs,
So
instead
it's
of the small distance we're after.
Yeah, and it's hard to judge the distance that
Exactly.
that you
Yeah.
lack of. Okay, Richard, when the golfer buying the set of iron, they normally not come with the full set of wedges, right? So for example, if I buy a set of like maybe TaylorMade, it maybe come with only like two A, is that A wedge, like that's the gap wedge.
Okay.
But it's not come with sand wedge and loft wedge. So how we know the loft of that club?
Okay, so when they come as a standard set, the lofts are going to match. When you start matching different wedges in there, you've just got to make sure maybe to get your clubs measured to see what loft they are. Because if you buy, for example, a TaylorMade set and you buy a Titleist sand wedge, thinking that the gap's correct, thinking your TaylorMade wedge is 48 because most wedges are 48, and it ends up being 45, then you're going to see a big gap that isn't going to work for you.
Okay, so if it's come like 45, so the gap wedge maybe come from 4 different, for 4 degrees,
Yeah,
4 to 5.
so if it's 45, you're going to want that 4 or 5 degrees gap. So for example, TaylorMade, if you were to buy a tailor-made set, they might have a very strong wedge, but they'll also have a very strong gap wedge. So it might be a 45-degree wedge, it might be a 50-degree gap wedge, and a 55-degree sand wedge. But you want the jumps to be consistent so your distance control can be consistent.
For you personally, do you like golfer to buy a wedge like separately, or just use the set that you buy from?
Ideally, to buy the full set, you would get consistent jumps, but you tend to find with the stock sand wedges, they don't suit the eye so much, and people like to open the face a little bit more to play delicate shots, and that's where specialist wedges come in. So it's a little bit easier to buy a set that hasn't got a wedge, specialist wedge in, but you might not be able to work it as well. So as long as you get the numbers checked, the loft and lies checked, it doesn't really matter if you can have 10 different brands and a few spare wedges, but the last thing you want to do is have a set of irons, different set of wedges, and not know the correct lofts.
Okay, so just check your loft first.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. So we know about the loft pretty much. So next section, I have my partner back again, and we talk more about bounce, right? Because wedges is two important thing is loft and bounce,
Yeah.
right? Okay. ท่านผู้ชมเดี๋ยวช่วงหน้ากลับมาให้โปรเอ็มมาพูดกันครับเรารู้ไปแล้วว่า loft เนี่ยมีผลในเรื่องของระยะโดยตรงแต่ว่า bounce เนี่ยมีผลอย่างไรโดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งในการเล่นลูกสั้นครับเดี๋ยวช่วงหน้ามาพบกันครับ
สนับสนุนโดยอีเดมิสึ Bangkok Golf Center Indoor Premium Driving Range โทร 02 259 6086